So here is part 2 of the castle tutorial, and we are going to be adding some details to the ground, some shrubs, and a background. So I've got quite a bit of my space full of castle. I got all the requirements from the assignment sheet: 4 towers, 4 flags, 8 windows, and some bricks. So I'm actually going to select the entire image and shift drag just to make my castle a little smaller so I've got room for some elements around it. So I'm going to start with sort of a horizon line or a grassy area. So I'm going to use my regular rectangle tool. I'm just going to fill in this space right at the bottom of my castle. And again, we're trying not to use only what we see in our swatches palette. So I'm trying to kind of mix some different blues and peach and stick with a color scheme. I like it a little bit softer. I kind of like this blue. It just sort of works with the flags and everything else. So just a rectangle. And then I'm going to make a background rectangle to fill in a sunset. I'm going to take my rectangle tool and drag from the upper left to the lower right. And I'm not going to worry about the color quite yet. If I want to, I can just start with the default gradient, which is sitting right here in your swatches. Don't worry, I'm not leaving it this color. We're going to make some changes. So I'm going to object, arrange, send to back immediately. So I've got it behind everything. And we want our sunset to go top to bottom, not left to right. So I'm going to find my gradient tool. Make sure that your square is actually selected with your black arrow when you do this part. And I'm going to drag from the top to the bottom. If I hold shift, it makes it nice and straight. And now I've created a gradient that's horizontal. So this really sharp sunset's pretty, but I'm going to click on gradient and I'm just going to soften it a little bit by double clicking each of these boxes and just modifying the color a little. So I really like the pinks and yellows, so I'm going to be consistent with that, but I'm just going to make them a little more mild. So my next color, again, I'm just softening each one of these boxes. And if I want to, I can even drag a box out. If I don't like one, I can just drag and drop, and that removes one of the boxes from my gradient. Now, if you're having trouble seeing all of these choices, it's possible that you don't have your options showing. So you may want to go show options and make that bigger. I kind of like the rich orange at the bottom, but I'm going to remove one of them and just do the last one. And I might even see how it looks, the softer color back there. I think that's a little better. So now I've created my custom gradient, and now all we have left is some clouds and some shrubs. So I'm going to go ahead and get my circle tool, and I'm going to, oops, that is not my circle tool. Go back and find my ellipse tool, and I'm going to drag a bunch of circles off to the side on top of each other. So I'm just making a bunch of circles together, and I'm going to unite them by clicking here, and now I've got a cloud shape. So I just built circles and I united them, and now I'm going to choose a soft shade of blue. So here's another way to pick a color. Oh, I'm still in gradient. That would actually look really cool. So if you want to be creative with it and do that, layering gradient for clouds, you could try that. But I'm going to go with a solid blue, and I am going to, whoops, having trouble filling that with the blue I want. Let's choose that again. Thinks I'm on gradient, so I'm just going to do this. There we go. That's what I wanted. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit, make it a little puffy cloud, and I'm going to click on transparency and lower it to about 40%. And I'm going to, I could put it in front of the castle if I wanted to be a little mysterious here with my clouds, or I could send it back. I kind of like the way it looks to have the clouds in front. But you'll notice that if you have a transparency setting, you'll see how the clouds overlap one another, which is kind of a fun little setup here. I'm going to do one more set of clouds on this side, just some perfect circles overlap them, and you're just kind of visualizing how a cloud would look. They don't have to be perfect circles. I suppose if we drag them a little bit more rectangular or oval shaped, that could also get a nice effect as a cloud. Drag around them, unite, and then I'm going to place one more cloud right over here and really transparent this time, maybe 20%, so it's just very faint. So my clouds are placed, and now for shrubs, it's the same exact step. This time though, I'm going to find kind of a mossy blue-green to stick with my color scheme. And I'm going to duplicate some of those. And these I'm not going to use transparency. I'm just going to throw them down on the sides, kind of on either side of the castle, like so. So have a good time with this project and really take your time exploring and figuring out how you would like your castle to look. Again, we haven't learned too many steps in Illustrator, so I would assume that this will give you plenty to work with to be creative. So that concludes our second step. Just be sure to match the amount of towers and try using all of the tools that I've demonstrated in this tutorial.